Well, it's finally here. We're going to talk about my budget template today. I'm going to walk you through what's included and also how to use it, including all of the instructions. So stick around to hear all about it. Hi, friends, and welcome to the Budget Bounce. If we haven't met yet, I'm Jen, and I talk all about our money on this channel, in particular, living life on a budget and what that's like for us. And I try to share, I'm very transparent about what we have going on and try to share all the ups and downs that come with it. We have a lot more ups than we do downs. So truly, budgeting has been an amazing, amazing tool for us and has really turned things around for us financially. So if you like to talk about money and want to be a part of that conversation and, hear about how we're, where our money's coming from, how we're spending it, how we are saving it, how we're paying down debt, those are all the kinds of things that we're talking about on this channel. So hit that subscribe button down below and tap the bell so that you'll get notified every time I post a new video. So with that, let's head over to the template so that I can kind of show you around a little bit. All right, so the first thing that I want to do is to kind of give you a tour of what my budget template looks like, because what you purchase on Etsy will include more than what you see on the screen when I'm doing a budget report or a budget setup video. So let's start with the template itself. And let me just point out down here at the bottom of the screen, there are 3 tabs: the instructions tab, the budget template, and the data validation. And I'm going to go back to the other 2 after I just go through this really quickly. So I'm going to go through this thoroughly for those of you who have maybe never seen any of my videos or anything about my template before. So the first column is the list of budget categories. And so what I have here is the breakdown of all the different things that we do in a month. And I made this a little bit more generic and included some generic categories here. Like there's 3 generic categories that you can customize. But I made it, this is exactly how I have ours set up. And in here we have the source column, which is giving a description of where it's coming from or where we spent the money. We have the budgeted column, which is how much we think we're going to have coming in or how much we think we're going to spend during the budget period that you're budgeting for. I do monthly. That's how I use this, but you could honestly use this however you like. If you get paid biweekly, you could do this every time you get a biweekly check. Now, this is a pretty intense spreadsheet to have to do every other week, but you could do that if that's your thing. If you look at the next column here, we have actual, and this is where we are tracking what we actually spent against what we budgeted. And then this column here, the over under, is going to give us what the difference is between those 2 things. So we want to come as close as possible to what we planned. Now I'm going to scroll down here a little bit to some more areas, some other categories. So the columns change when you get down in here to these sections. So in savings and sinking funds, we start with description, budgeted, and actual. And then we have a previous balance. And this is where you're going to plug in the ending balance from the prior month or the prior budget period. That was whatever you ended on, that's what you're going to put here on this line in this cell. And then you'll put in how much interest was earned that month, how much you spent that month, and then your new balance will calculate. And you'll see where all these zeros are. These are all formulas. These are formulas that are already built in that are going to do the work for you. Let's scroll down and look at debt. So I have 10 debt items here. We actually had close to 40 when we started. I think overall we've had a total of 42 or 43 over the time. So, this would not have been nearly enough for me, but I think that we are the exception to the rule. And it's very easy to add lines if you need to, and very easy to remove them if this is way too many for you, which bravo if that's the case. So all right, let's look. We have budgeted, actual, difference, previous balance, interest, new balance again, and interest rate. This is where you can put in the interest rate that this particular debt is accruing. And that way you can see what is in the formula for the interest column, because the interest column is actually going to pull from whatever you have here. Down at the bottom, it's going to add up your total expenses in both budgeted and actual, your total income in both, and then your over under in both. And then here you'll plug in your starting balance, and this will be It might change a little bit at the beginning as you're getting your arms around all of your debt, but this is your starting debt balance. And for us, it's over $252,000. And so that's the number that's reflected every time I do a budget. And then the paid this month and the total paid to date, that math is going to happen through this formula. And there's formulas here too. They're just showing an error right now because it's dividing by 0. And that's always going to give you this error. But as soon as something gets plugged in here, if we paid $1,000 this month, we have zeros up at the top too. And if we had $1,000, if we had $5,000, then this would show 20% here. So that's this is the actual budget section of the budget template. Now let's go back up. Let's talk about this income section. So you'll notice there's green and pink here, just like you probably saw it over here, the green and the pink shades over here. I'm sorry, not pink, green and purple. What am I thinking? Green and purple shades. And when you go down here, there's more purple because this category name, I don't know what you're going to do with this. So I made that purple, like you have to plug this in. Now there are formulas there, but if you end up needing to, I just wanted to draw attention to the fact that you might need to do something with these rows. So you'll see there's light green and light purple kind of all over. And the premise of this and the instructions is if you see a light green or a light purple shaded cell, then that's something that you have to go make a manual entry in. So over here for paychecks, you'll see you're going to write down however many paychecks you have, what you expect to earn. And when you do that, it's going to populate over here for you. And I'm going to do a demo for you so you can see all of it. So we're not going to do that right now. Then you'll plug in what your actuals were. The sent to savings, sinking funds, and retirement, this is all formulas. You won't have to plug anything in here. As you are building your spreadsheet, it is going to show you this is what actually happened during the month. How much you sent to the savings section, how much you sent to sinking funds, and how much you sent to retirement. Over here is a section you guys have never seen if you've been watching my budget reports. And this is the spending section. So this is what it really drives all the magic that happens over in the budget itself. So you would enter a date, a description of the expense, and the amount of the expense, and then you're going to select a category. And this list is very important. It is what is going to drive what's over here in the budget template. So you would assign that to each item, and then it's going to fill in over here based on formulas. So if you look at these formulas here, here's the holidays line. Oh, shoot. Sorry. Here's the holidays line, and it shows holidays. And what this formula does is it looks over here in spending, and if it sees, I'm just going to put in, we spent $100 on the holidays. If it sees this, it's actually going to pull that in and show that you spent $100 on holidays. That is the awesome thing about this setup. I'm not sure how many iterations of my budget template I have had over the last 2.5 years, but this is by far the most functional. So let's talk about these other tabs so that you can see what we have in those tabs. So let's go to data validation first. This is where that list over here, this list, this right here comes from this tab. So when you order this, you're going to get this with all these generic debt 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, envelope 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. You get to customize this and make this anything that you want. And that's all included in the instructions. And in the instructions, I include information about how to alphabetize this after you if you put in Capital One and Discover Card and American Express, then all of a sudden, none of those fit into the alphabetizing of this list. And let me just tell you that alphabetizing the list, when you look over here, when you're looking at this dropdown, you're going to want this alphabetized because it's a lot easier to find things. Now, luckily, I can go to, if I want to see pets, I can type in PE and it does, I can't remember what this is calling, but this is a smart function where when you start typing, it'll pull up only the things that have those letters in it. So it'll jump you, even though you couldn't see it in the list, it will jump you to whatever it is that you're looking for. So getting back over here, you can customize this. You can remove things. You can add things. You can add lines that don't exist right now. And of course, you can type over the top of lines that exist here right now. And as soon as you make the change to something that exists here now, immediately it's going to make a change over on the other side. When you add a line, wherever you add a line, I'm just going to put in zebra just because it's an oddity, and go over here. And when you look and you scroll down and you get to other, here's zebra in the middle. It immediately gets added exactly where you put it in the list. And that's why if you want it to be alphabetical, you're going to want to reorganize it. And that's all included in the instructions. So let's talk about the instructions for a moment. So I have this broken into different sections because they kind of build on one another depending on what you're doing. So the very first thing is this in red. You want to make sure when you get the template that you make a copy of it, because you always want to keep a blank copy of this template, if for nothing else, so that you can go find the formulas that you need for the fields that you're working in. Just in case something happens and you misplace you do something and you lose formulas, you're going to want to have the original, so that you can find those and rebuild. The other thing you can do is if you have a blank one, you can start all over if you need to. Instead of having to figure out what you changed and what's the same, you can just grab a clean one and start over if it gets to be to a point that you need to do that. So the first section is setting up your first budget on the budget template tab. There are 4 steps, and I will go through each one of these in the demo. Numbers 2, 3, and 4, they each have their own section down here with some instructions. So updating your drop-down list in the category column, which is also the data validation tab. Okay. Updating formulas in the line items. So if you're making these changes here, and then you need to follow up and make changes in the formulas to, if you're going to change other housing to mobile security, you need to make sure that you are addressing that in this formula, or it won't find anything that you're doing in the spending section. When it comes to doing the monthly updates, there's a section about how to set it up. Once you've got your first one set up, then you won't have to do as much of these things in these bottom 2 sections here. So the instructions for the monthly update setup is more straightforward, I think, especially once you get used to using the template. And then the ongoing updates for tracking expenses. This is something you'll do every single month. And you can see here, any cells that are in light purple require a manual entry. Any cells that are in light green require a manual entry. So I did this in this way to try to break it down so it doesn't seem so overwhelming. All right, guys, I've decided to stop the video here because I spent a good amount of time going over the budget template and all the things that are included. So I'm going to do the demo in a separate video, and if I can knock that out in one video, I will, but if it gets to be too long, I will make it a 2-part demo. Anyhow, it will be coming very soon, so stay tuned. And if you're watching this in the future, I will have a playlist included down below where it will play you through all of the videos, so you can get to the demo right away. Thanks for watching, and make sure that you watch that demo video as soon as you can.